This tool really sucks. Details next. This is a fluid evacuator. To put it simply, it sucks fluids out of vehicles using a straw. The reason why that's beneficial for me is time. I just don't seem to get enough of it these days. And the time that I do get, I would rather be spending with my friends and family, maybe go on a hiking trip, or make YouTube videos. Anything other than cleaning up puddles of transmission fluid that spill after I crack open the transmission pan and unleash a flood of dirty fluid. Also, I've been seeing a lot of newer cars come in lately with complete skid plates or belly pans covering the entire engine from underneath. To get to an oil drain plug, those pans have to be removed and the process can take longer than the oil change itself. Fortunately, many cars now have topside access to their oil filters, which means that if you can remove the oil from up top, you don't even have to lift the car. Enter the Mityvac MV7300, which is similar to many of its competitors with a few key differences that I'll go over next. I'll show you how I use this tool in the shop. Later, I'll score the Mityvac in 3 categories and reveal whether I'd recommend buying it. There are a couple of reasons why I chose this tool over the others that I've seen. The first of which being its capacity. Its reservoir will hold 9.3 quarts of fluid, which is good because extended oil change intervals being what they are, cars now have an oil capacity upwards of 2 gallons. With this tool, I can drain a vehicle's sump completely without having to stop and empty the canister in the middle of the service. For me, this is a convenience tool, not a necessity. And if it isn't convenient, then there's really no point in me owning it. The 7300 differentiates itself further by operating on shop air, not a hand pump. I like this because I don't have to stand there and pump the handle, so that's nice. But I also like the simplicity in its design, meaning there is no handle, or pump, or really any moving parts to speak of. I don't have any evidence to back this up, but I think with fewer moving parts, this will be a more robust tool and should give me a longer service life. Speaking of service life, Mityvac includes a 1-year factory warranty against defects, which seems to be pretty standard for a tool like this. The Mityvac comes with a 5-foot-long main hose made of soft, clear vinyl tubing that has a ball valve in the center. Also included are 3 5-foot-long nylon tubes which are more rigid. These are the straws that you insert into a dipstick tube in order to reach the sump or oil pan. Their diameters range in size from about 5.5 millimeters to 10 millimeters, so you just choose the one that'll fit your particular application. You'll notice that I made a modification here on the side of the canister. That's because Mityvac hasn't provided any storage for the nylon tubes or the hose that it came with. I didn't like trying to find a place to store them because they're pretty awkward and messy, so I just attached a couple pieces of PVC pipe with a large hose clamp, which seems to do the trick. You can see that these nylon tubes have a permanent curve to them. I suspect that that's because they just came off of larger rolls and they retain that shape. They are somewhat flexible, but they won't stay straightened out. Because of this, they seem to stay pretty well in my makeshift holder. Another included accessory is this brake bleeder adapter. It's designed for you to be able to vacuum bleed a car's brake system. That's not my preferred method for bleeding brakes, so I won't comment on how well it works. Onto the main portion of this tool, which is the canister and valve assembly. The canister measures about 24 inches tall and has a carrying handle on its top. Also at the top is a spout where waste oil can be poured into a recycling container. The body of the cylinder is made of a heavy material that is semi-transparent. At a glance, you can easily see the amount of oil extracted. Each of these ribs around the circumference are placed about 2 quarts apart. So if your fluid level reaches the 3rd rib, you've extracted 6 quarts. Here at the bottom is where your shop's air hose can be attached. Next to that is the venturi and the muffler, which are used to draw a vacuum inside the canister. To start this process, simply plug in your air hose and open the control valve. I'd like to take a minute to dispel a rumor that I've seen on the internets. People say that this tool is weaker than its hand pump counterparts and won't draw out cold engine oil. I think the problem people are having stems from trying to draw out oil using the venturi like a shop vac, turning it on and expecting suction at the hose. The proper way to use this type of evacuator is to first draw a deep vacuum inside the canister then close the control valve. I've attached a gauge to this tool, and as you can see that in under a minute, it will produce a vacuum pressure of over 20 inches of water. Now we can open the valve on the main hose and begin drawing out oil with the power of the vacuum pressure, not the venturi. Oil will naturally flow towards the area of lower pressure, but that low pressure area first has to be created by the venturi, and that can take a minute. Once the oil begins to flow, it should continue until the sump is completely drained or your canister fills to the top. There's an overflow prevention float valve under the top cover that'll stop the flow and save you from cleaning up a mess. That's it, a pretty simple idea with many different uses. You can save time in oil changes, transmission fluid service, power steering, gear oil, brake fluid, even coolant. But be warned, the MV7300 is not designed to handle gasoline. Seriously, don't transfer any fuels with this, it would be very dangerous. Aside from the risk that gasoline can break down the materials in this tool, there's a very big risk of fire. As it operates, a venturi will generate a static charge on the surface, and that could potentially ignite the gasoline, causing a very bad day. Now it's time for some hard numbers. I'll score the Mityvac in 3 different categories. I'll add those up and we'll find out whether it has earned a buy recommendation. First, in the form category, the design of this tool seems quite good. I like the graduated cylinder, making it easy to see the amount of fluid we've collected. Also, the materials seem to be top-notch. This tool is very heavy-duty and well-built. The soft vinyl tube will degrade over time, but can be easily replaced using some bulk tubing from a hardware store. My only complaint here is the lack of storage for the tubing, a pretty major oversight. The solution to modify it, though, was easy enough, so I'm not going to be too hard on them. Overall, this kit is fairly intuitive and easy to use, so it gets an 8 out of 10. Next, in the function category, I'll say that this tool works very well. It does what it's supposed to do, which is evacuate fluids, and has very little trouble doing so. The only time I ever have a problem with it is if one of the vacuum stoppers isn't pressed in far enough, because vacuum leaks will stop the fluid flow. That trouble is easy enough to solve, but I'll say that a more positive locking design would be preferable. I understand this tool is designed to a price point, so I'm not mad about it, and it gets an 8 out of 10. Finally, value. You can have one of these tools for under $100, which is about what you'd pay for any of the manual tools out there. I'm not blown away by the 1-year warranty, but yeah, it's okay. Also, I found repair parts for this are easily available from Mityvac, and the hoses and tubing can be found at any hardware store. I like to know that my tools aren't throwaways and can be repaired at a low cost, so I'm giving it a good 9 out of 10. Add them all up and the Mityvac MV7300 gets a 25 out of 30. That score is high enough to earn a buy recommendation. If you decide to buy a Mityvac for your shop, you can click on the link in the description. It's an affiliate link that will take you to Amazon. I really like tools that save me time, and this one does that, with the added benefit of avoiding spills in the shop. I'm glad that I have this tool in my arsenal, and I wouldn't hesitate to buy it again. I'd like to hear your opinion about this tool, so please feel free to leave a comment. Thanks for watching. To see all my content when it's released, click over here. And click here to see another Tool Demos video. You know you want to.